Jay Pusha, you crazy.
I'm so litty, I rock Philly, Richard Millie, half a milli. I'm on the way, I'm on the way, I'm so litty, I rock Philly, Richard Millie, half a milli. I'm on the way, I'm on the way. I've been on my way. I had to get my own blood. Got the new coupe, look like I got it from space. Worked the way in my hood, dropped the top off the whip. It's a two play. I put you out of my truck, I put you out of my pants. They got the 9-8. I got it out of the gutter. Came up from nothing, I didn't turn nothing to something. I had to give me a rush, got me a form, got it flying out this morning. Got me a 10 or above. She can't be basic, these basic come down by the dozen. They do what they want, they stop it for nothing. I'ma keep running these numbers. I'm so litty, I rock Philly. Richard Millie, half a milli. I'm on my way, I'm on the way, I'm on my way, I'm on my way, I'm so litty, I rock Philly. Richard Millie, half a milli. I'm on my way, I'm on the way, I'm so litty, I rock Philly. Richard Millie, half a milli. I'm on my way.
Jay Pusha, you crazy.